What's the most awkward situation you've ever been in with a stranger? I worked security at an aquatic theme park and was watching Jeopardy in the employee entrance. One of the veterinarians came through and watched it with me for a bit. He said he watches it religiously and he passed the test for the show and was hoping to get selected. He'd heard that they like to have a diverse group of contestants. And they hadn't had a black guy for a while. So he liked his chances. A few days later, there are 2 black contestants. So when I see him leaving the next time I say, "Hey, did you catch Jeopardy last week?" "No, why?" He responds, "There were 2 black guys on it." I explain. He just stares at me blankly for a few seconds and walks off. That's when I realized it was a different gentleman than I had the previous conversation with. Fuck dude. I'm fucking dead. Oh my god. This is possibly the fucking funniest comment I have ever seen in a thread. Well done. In the cinema, I interlocked my fingers with the kid sitting beside me for a full minute. Turns out, he wasn't my kid. That happened to me as a kid in the mall. Got lost inside a store and randomly reached out to a mother's hand. Only to find out a couple minutes later it wasn't my mom. Lol. Edit. Typo. Got on an elevator with a woman and she had on these really nice boots, so I complimented them by saying nice boots. She cups her breasts and said, "Well, you're not shy. Thank you, they're real," and then immediately realized I said boots. She thought I said nice boobs. Longest elevator ride ever. To this day whenever I say boots in any context I do so with a very hard deliberate T. Edit. Thanks for all the upvotes everyone. For the record I did say well those are nice too in my head. Her reaction was awesome. I've had this same thing happen to me with one of my employees. Luckily she deciphered what I actually said before it got too weird. And yeah, a very hard T from now on for me. Woman at a gas station didn't know how to put air in her tires, so I helped her because I wanted to put air in my tires and didn't want to wait all day to do it. She called her husband on speakerphone to let him know she found some nice man to help her air her tires. Then I hear him call her an idiot and say that I'm only helping her because I want to fuck her, and where does she get off talking to other men? She stammered and tried to explain that nothing was going on between us. After she got off the phone she looked at me as if her husband just caught her fucking me and got in her car and left. No thank you. No nothing. And for some reason I felt guilty for even helping her out. Jesus, I feel awkward just thinking about it. The first time I hung out with a girl acquaintance I knew from a bar. I paid for dinner because she had calmed me so many cocktails before. She took that as a sign I wanted to sleep with her and got really uncomfortable. And I ended up apologizing for buying dinner mayo. Woke up from a blackout drunk in bed with a woman I had never seen before. I didn't know her name or anything about her. Decided to try and get her name off her driver's license before she woke up. She woke to find me digging through her purse. The woman jumps out of the bed and says, "Hippity hoppity, get the fuck off my property. That's my purse. I don't know you." It was my first time voting in a presidential election in 2016 since becoming old enough to do so. And polling place was at a library. When I get to the front of the line and start filling out the required papers, I mention it's my first time and what to do next. After hearing this, the woman who was working there and helping me raised her voice and said, "Hey everyone. We've got a first time voter here." And started clapping so they all would clap as well. Nobody clapped. And I was just standing there really embarrassed before quietly saying, "Can I just go vote now?" Damn it, Karen. All her co-workers, probably. Hooked up with a guy in college and fell asleep in his dorm room. I woke up in the middle of the night needing to pee so fucking badly but unable to find any of my clothes right away. I ended up spending so long trying to find them in the dark that by the time I had enough to wear out in the hall to get to the bathroom I didn't think I'd make it. He was still sleeping, so I grabbed a big reusable water bottle and squatted over it. It was blissful relief until I looked over and saw his roommate staring at me in horror. What do you do after that happens? Do you leave? Do you go back to bed? Do you go empty the water bottle? I looked away and tried to cover myself as best I could. I was done only a few seconds later, and when I glanced back at him, he was pretending to be asleep again. No idea how long he'd been awake, if he'd been watching me shimmy around naked for 2 minutes trying to find my panties and hold in the pee. I figured I had to empty and wash it, same as if I hadn't been caught. I wasn't going to leave a bottle of my piss out. I grabbed as much of my stuff as I could find first. I guess some part of me knew that I wasn't coming back to the room after. Thankfully I didn't pass anyone in the hallway. Dumped the contents down the toilet. Left the water bottle on the floor of the stall. And got out of there. When I was young, I thought some random lady was my mum. And tugged her skirt. She turned. Screamed, and I screamed back. Not my proudest moment. Once I was in McDonald's parking lot with my friends waiting to get in my friend's dad's car. And I saw a car that looked identical to the one I needed to get into. So I get into it. And turns out it isn't the car I was supposed to be in. The stranger's expression of pure fear still pops into my head time to time. When I was a teenager, my friends and I would spend the weekend staying up late playing video games and eating junk food. I was also a cross-country runner. And on this particular night I was experiencing some extreme chafing from a long run earlier that day. While we were at the gas station getting Doritos and energy drinks, I announced to who I thought was my friend. Man, my nipples really hurt. Upon realizing it was a complete stranger with whom I had just shared this intimate detail, I simply stared at him and said, "You're not my friend," and walked away. I didn't go back to that gas station for a long time. Edit. I'm a guy, for those wondering. You're not my friend. Guy hangs head in sorrow. The picture in my mind simply is too entertaining. I worked at Old Navy and some lady was looking at men's shirts and she stopped me and held up this shirt and asked if I thought it would fit her son. I looked around and no one else was around. We stood in silence for maybe 30 seconds before she started laughing and said, "Oh. Haha, you don't know my son, he lives in Michigan, we were in Washington State. Never mind me. I'm just stoned. Haha," and then she went and bought the shirt. Some loser who doesn't know Greg from Michigan. At an art studio in La. My girlfriend was wearing a denim jacket as we looked at a piece together. Out of the corner of my eye I saw the jacket and I reach over to grab her butt. A sudden "oh" comes from beside me and a woman 30 years older than me is standing there blushing. I tell her I thought she was someone else and run away to my girlfriend. A few minutes later the lady comes and finds us to talk about young love and how cute we are while making too much eye contact with me. Edit. Thanks for the gold, you filthy animals. Oh goodness. At least she wasn't offended by your mistake. On the bright side, she wanted to watch. I tried to release a silent fart near an empty aisle in a supermarket. The fart was not silent. And I wasn't alone. Better a supermarket than a church aisle. I almost decided to meet Jesus earlier than expected. Man who farts in church sits in his own pew. I tried to make some moves on a girl when I was in high school. We were in a 7/11 near the back. And because of the late hour, I figured we were alone. When she turned me down and left, I decided to drown my sorrows with a bag of Sour Patch Kids and physically ran into the older, bearded man who had been buying nuts. He gave me a sympathetic look and opened his mouth as if to say something. And I panicked. I said, "See you tomorrow," and left the store. I still think about this nightly. Poor old man goes there every night and gazes at the Sour Patch Kids wondering what could be. If only you would show up. At a movie theater. I went alone and so did the guy sitting next to me, and the couple sitting next to us was having a pretty heavy makeout session. Did two of you make out too? Wife and I went to Europe for our honeymoon. We were in a train station in Amsterdam and I had to use the bathroom. I walked into the toilet stall and saw there was TP in the bowl but didn't think anything of it. I did my business, and when I tried to flush, it didn't go down. In a panic I flushed again, and this only resulted in the water becoming dangerously close to the rim of the bowl. I said fuck it and started to leave. However, right outside the stall was a bathroom attendant. He looked over at me and started yelling at me, asking why was I clogging up the toilet. He was blocking me from leaving, and all these other people in the bathroom looked in at us. God, it was so embarrassing, I wanted to die. I eventually muttered sorry and brushed past him and ran out of the bathroom. WTF did he want you to do? Plunge the public restroom to unclog it, lol. For real, lol. Guess he was just having a shitty day. Every time I casually talk to a stranger, say bye, then we end up needing to walk the same way for a while. Then you just start running, but you're wearing a backpack, so it's flapping weird and making your gait very uncomfortable. That's when you start running on all fours. My son had small Toy Story figurines but wanted big ones for Christmas. I walked into Toys R Us and asked the male clerk, "Do you have a large Woody?" He turned bright red. I wheeled around and marched out and didn't go back for months. Golly, I was thinking about how terrible that name is for a children's toy. Edit, I really didn't need to contemplate Andy's mom being buzzed. Thanks guys. Every elevator ride. For me, it's getting an Uber by myself. Do I sit in the front or the back? Which is more awkward? I have no idea. But I do know it's uncomfortable as hell. Worked at a hotel front desk third shift, and an old, maybe 75 plus lady called the front desk and wanted a pillow delivered to her room. I took the pillow. When I got there, she wanted me to come inside. I'm like, "No, here is your pillow." She insisted, so I did. I get inside, she shuts the door and tells me to put the pillow on the bed. She then goes to a drawer in her dresser. At this time I'm like, I need to return to the front desk. Thinking the worst. She then pulls out a thing of band-aids and wants me to put band-aids on her open sores on her feet. I noped on out of there as fast as I could and left before she came down for morning breakfast. Still freaks me out. Yuck. Two of us in an elevator for 20 floors. He farted when he got in and we just stared silently at each other the whole ride up. You got power moved. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more Reddit videos.